We've got two video cameras to look at today. Initially I thought they were different for some reason. I thought there was a different model number, but on a closer inspection they're both the same. It's National Color Video Camera WV-3030N. And for some reason I thought one of them was 3000 rather than 3030, but as soon as I started recording this I noticed they were the same. Anyway, maybe that's going to make it easier today because I was planning to try and work out what's different about them. So let's have a look at these, then we'll try them out, see if they work, and then take it apart, see what's inside. Perhaps we'll pick the less working one to take apart, and then we can be a bit more takey-aparty about it. So this is, it's a video camera, another thing that's just a video camera with no power supply or recording device in it. It was quite similar to the one we looked at in the previous video, which is over here, and it's back together now. This thing, which was whatever that model number is, that's covered up by that thing on the bottom. Oh, that's unfortunate. WV-3030. Maybe this is newer then, since it's a higher number. I don't know, I thought it was older, but I think the features in this are the same compared to this one. It's just a basic camera that has a standard 10-pin camera connector that you plug into a portable VCR like this one, quite big and heavy. It's got the camera plug on the side there, and then that records onto full-size VHS tapes. And you haul this around with you by putting a battery in there, or as we've seen previously, you hook it up to a camera AC adapter like this one. It's got the camera connector on it, and then that powers the camera 12 volts, and it's got audio and video outputs and a remote pause thing to allow the camera start-stop button to pause your VCR, provided it's got a camera pause input, which some of them did. Some of those good old National ones that we've looked at in the past in previous videos. So what features does this have? It's got a nice grip there with a guard, so if someone's attacking you they won't harm you, I guess. There's a power switch, which is power LED indicator, standby or on. And standby, it will probably keep the heaters alive in the CRT for the viewfinder. Another nice big CRT tube, and for the pickup tube for the camera, so that when you put it to on, it will start up immediately, more or less immediately. You can test that. There's an external microphone input connector. There's the polarity for the video recorder pause. It makes it a positive going or negative going signal, I assume, when you push the record button to be compatible with different VCRs. Never really looked into what that does. So I've hardly used these things, I've just collected them. Microphone is down there, so it can get a lot of scrunching around noises with your hand. Guess it's kind of out of the way. There's manual zoom there with macro function, but power zoom with this little rocker lever thing there, and it's manual focus only. There is indoor-outdoor setting, which is a color filter to alter the color temperature to warm up the cold outdoor light. And then there's white balance check, which puts a frost filter in front of the pickup tube to make adjusting the white balance easier. And to adjust the white balance, which is all manual, you turn these knobs to change the values of red and blue in the picture. That's it. I don't think there are any other things on this. There's a cold shoe, so you can attach something, a microphone, bigger microphone, a light, and this one being the same model, it's going to be the same. Let's try turning these on and see what happens. I have no idea if they work or not. Surely one of them will do something. Let's find out. So it's on standby, and we'll hook it up to the camera adapter. Power it up. Standby light is on. Well, power light is on. Does it go a different color when you turn it on? We'll put on this video capture so we can see if it does anything. Give it a short period of time to warm up, and we'll watch that when we turn it on as well in case it dips. You might be hooped. That's just giving like a horizontal line across there. There's no manual iris on this. Unless you're just relying on the iris working. Oh, the video capture didn't show up. Anyway, there was no picture. There isn't anything of note coming out of this though. Yeah, that's different now. The horizontal line that was on the screen is sort of moved to the bottom. So I guess the viewfinder would work if this worked at all. Gives a little bit of a pulse for a while when you first turn it on. Not much else doing though. Right, we're going to try the other one. Put that to standby as well so we can see whether anything happens when it powers up. Oh, there's a big kink in the cable there. I wonder if this has been rolled up in like an unfavorable manner, or it's been folded over and stood on or something. Damaged the lay of the wires in there. Alright, let's turn this on and see if anything happens. That's just as dead. Possibly even more dead because it doesn't have that sort of horizontal line. Though it can detect low light. Oh no, look, a picture is coming up. Oh no, we missed that. We missed it on the capture. That's disappointing. There's something up with this. Let's see, I guess it's gone back to the wrong input again. We'll pretend this is the first time. Yes, look at that. This one actually does something. Sort of. Picture is quite rumpty. You can see the white balance, adjust the amount of red in the picture, adjust the amount of blue, so that's all good. And when you put that on, as it frosts out the image, so you can carefully balance it out so that it gives a nice white image. Ah, is it? There's. Is it? Why is there a band of the picture that looks fine that moves around? It's because of. It's because of the lights, isn't it? The pedalium dipping on the lights? Or is there something in there that's moving around? That's really weird. See, there it's fine. Up here it's not. Guessing something to do with LED lights is upsetting it. Here's the waveform. Let's see then if we turn this light off. This is somewhat better. Turn this light off. I think just debug all this stuff. Maybe my main lights have decided to go bad. Main lights. Turn off all the lights. Oh, it's that one that's doing it maybe. Anyway, this camera seems workinger than the other one. Well, it has some very bizarre behavior. Yeah, neat. Okay, so if we turn that off and we'll just give the other one a bit of a go, just in case it comes to life too. Ah, yeah, I'm guessing the video capture thing didn't work in the previous video either, since, I don't know, but that camera didn't work at all. So let's see, give it a little while. You see, I'd noticed the orange of the low light indicator there, whereas this one's not doing that at all. Yeah, dead. Alright, that's okay, that means we can take this one apart and see what kind of stuff is inside it. I wonder if it will be similar to what we saw last time in that other camera. Probably, because they're from the same time period. Keep opening and shutting this. Makes a squeaking noise. I wonder if this will be as easy to get into as that other one was. It seemed like remarkably simple to take the covers off, which is probably useful for servicing it. Some kind of... Oops. Okay, yes, the top piece comes off pretty easily. So it's got a metal hook there which hooks into that, under those things. But look at that, we can see the viewfinder there, CRT. Pretty nice on display there. It's a pretty good CRT. Clamped down, anode cap there for the high voltage. The grounding tab there just connects to the conductive outside edge. Now, if we put that upside down, it's going to doink on this tube. A couple of screws here. Wow, that doesn't feel very nice. Being cross-threaded. And it looks like it's going into die cast stuff and it's peeled the thread out. That one's not so bad. Does that slide out? It does slide out. Yeah, look at that. That's also got a nice hook on it, and it's got quite a lot of wires. Maybe the whole motor controller for the zoom is there. Oh, it has got that polarity thing, the forward button, zoom in and out, and microphone. Presumably microphone with that shielded wire there. And then look, it goes into a non-shielded wire on this side. Unless you can unplug that. And so that 3 only goes to that polarity selection switch. So that means the only 3 wires for the zoom control, 2 wires for the record start stop, and then the shielded cable for the microphone. Most likely. Now taking that off has revealed another screw there. So 2 screws on the bottom. Does that mean the slides come off now? Oh yeah, I have to pull these little knobs off. It's like hot and cold taps, isn't it? Red and blue. Oh yeah, look at that. It's got some interesting darker blue stuff on it. Seems like they've put additional solder mask or protection over areas that have fine traces close to each other. Everywhere that there's a bunch of tracks really close to each other, it's got this extra kind of blue stuff. Maybe they're delicate and they're concerned about that. I don't know, for a moment I thought it might be like one of those 3-layer boards that we'd seen. Where was that? In another camera maybe? Where that's like another layer had been painted on over the top of that side's tracks. Not here though, it's just some kind of protection around delicate areas of the board. It's covered up so we don't get to see. Maybe that's the important stuff. Is it soldered down? Yes, there. But it's also got 2 screw tab things. Let's take it off and have a look. I want to do that as well because it will help it hinge out. So presumably the problem with this is the capacitors have gone bad like in everything else.
Okay. Some tight wires, and they're not, those aren't connectors, they're just wire attachments. So maybe we've got to pull the other side out first. Perhaps we'll just desolder this shielding plate so that we can have a look at the other side of this board. Okay, quite a lot of solder on that. Just wipe it on that, which will instantly solidify it because it's cold. Now look at that. Oh dear, we can see already. See that discoloration there? Right there. That suggests leaky capacitors on the other side, and the electrolyte has come through the board and is traveling along the copper. Does seem to be the only area that's happening. Maybe that's an important capacitor. Looking now, so that's probably that big one there that's leaked through, but looking at these little tiny ones, they've got dark stains around them on this side of the board, so I think they hooped both ways. Well, means it's not just that capacitor that's gone bad, it's going to be all of them. Okay. Oh look, I left those screws in because they were attached to a thing, little box. Yeah, that reminds me, when we took the handle off the bottom, we exposed a row of trimmers there, which I thought maybe you could get to without taking the side off, but it's actually one of many trimmers. Look at that, heaps of them. So these are single-sided boards, and it's not double-sided copper on one side with insulation painted on. They are just single-sided, but it's not a fiberglass board either. It's a phenolic style, a lot of sill components, single inline modules. There's a TI SN74LS02 with an 8109 on it, so this must be very early 80s vintage. The shield around that device there, which I think is one of these things. Delay line. This will be all the good video processing. Connector there that has no wires going into it. Oh, it's a jumper. It's got in there a little staple across it. Interesting, I guess that's an option for something. It does join together two very thin tracks there. Oh look, and there's an extra subboard up there with a little device on it. And some tiny resistors. Yeah, little tiny leaded resistors there. Sort of 8 watt size. Okay. Now, what was stopping this from opening up? It seemed like... yeah, it's wires that go to this stuff. But that doesn't unplug. I don't know, that back piece is one whole thing. Yeah, that's a very interesting sort of afterthought circuit. You see, the wires from that just go to a whole bunch of different test points on that board, and then that's attached by a bracket from down there that comes up around and then screws the little board on. Very kind of afterthoughty. And it looks like the high voltage stuff. So the thing in a box there, which is presumably the flyback transformer, the wire comes out of that, goes to the tube there, but then next to it on the board down there are two other heavily insulated wires. They go to there and there. Oh, it looks like they wire out from that same transformer. So they're using one flyback transformer to drive all the vacuum tubes. Interesting. Guess we'll rip right into this. Yeah, I wanted to take off, because it'll be interesting to look at this bracket thing. So the pickup tube is in there, and it's got deflection coils. It backs there with the electron gun, connects into there with a focus adjustment. The electron beam focus, not the camera's focus. and then there's deflection coils in there which these wires go to, and then there's the pickup along the front of the tube, and you have a small wire going down into this box here where we have the preamp for the video signal, and then that will be coming out of that shielded wire there, that grey one, and then the power supply for the preamp, and then that comes into this board here for the processing, decoding and processing of the video signal. I wonder if that metal box there is a power supply. Don't know, it doesn't really have thick wires going in and out of it. Maybe it's just some delicate signal processing. It's got a sort of inductive trimmer thing there. You know, that's all power supply stuff is on this side. Hitachi brand CRT. You can see a sticker through there. Interesting, not a Matsushita one like you would expect a National or Panasonic device. So that's interesting because it's got a metal bracket. It's not the type of metal that it would normally have for like a factory thing. Because typically every piece of metal will be stamped with a part number. Maybe this is before that? But anyway, this has got some kind of coating on it, like it's meant for the exterior of an appliance. Interesting textured thing. So it's like that was some scrap offcut that they send off to get formed into these brackets so they could get a bodge installed. Just pick up on those screws that are holding the shield over the deflection coils and bodge this little board in. It's not that bodged because it is going into actual test point things on this board. Interesting. See, they're all proper little solder down points, and then they've put a little sleeve, a heat shrink sleeve over them. They're not really annotated though. They have something next to them that looks like a sort of J or an L. Interesting. Green designators. It's just solder mask, isn't it? Using the solder mask on the component side to make the text, and then the actual white solder mask on this side. Convenient. They put the outlines of the components on the solder side so you can see where everything is without folding it out to help with debugging. Okay, all of that disconnected except the back of the tube, which we can't get off because we'd have to unplug it, and it's got all this shielding stuff packed around it. Perhaps we should undo the shielding and have a look in there. Now, does this come out? There's soldering there. Now, there's soldering there as well. No, it comes out. So then that unplugs off the back of the tube. Another ground wire. It's all very well shielded. So that's socket from the back of the pickup tube. Ah, look at that. And there's another of those serial numbers that's part of the chassis and then pokes through a little slot in the housing. Didn't notice that before, but there it is, see? Slot in the housing. Except this one's a little plastic thing that's been poked in rather than it being like actually part of the chassis. So this little peg thing that gets prepared and then clicked into place will be probably very early on in the production. Does that fit through there? Not very easily, but yes. Okay, so the wires going into the lens, which will be probably the zoom motor, the iris, and then that there, I can see what it is there. It's a switch of some sort. A switch that goes with that. The white balance control. So as it moves the filter using that lever, that thing there pushes on that switch, so it will know that you're in the white balance checking mode. See, and it pushes that thing there, which swings little filters in front of the image path. Okay, so it's all very self-explanatory. Let's have a look in here.
Oh, look at that. So there, you can see, oh, can you see? There's a wire that comes off the front of the tube and it goes into this inductor here, and then this little preamp circuit amplify the signal coming off the tube. Now, if we want to take this off, what do we do? Looks like I think we need to get this, the lens hood out of the way. Does that unscrew? Then there are some screws there, which I think will take the whole lens assembly off. Yeah, it's not even tight, but grabbing it to undo it squeezes it and makes the threads lock up. Okay, oh yeah, these are the type of screws that you get to the last one and it's super hard to undo. But this time, I think we're all good. Everything spring and fly apart. Nope. And there's probably the IR filter there, and then the front of the tube is just behind it. Interesting, there is a little bracket thing around the tube. It clicks and it screws onto there. Like die cast assembly, all nicely made. Oh yeah, and there's this top saddle clamping thing around there, and then this front piece is separate. All good quality stuff. You can see the cable comes in. It has a ground, which I presume is the screen. Yeah, it looks like the screen there. And then the viewfinder bits and pieces, I guess will be that top edge there with deflection coil. You can see the deflection coils there. These wires here drive it. And then the base of the tube from there. High voltage cable, probably for the focusing of the tube. Then there's a power regulator screwed underneath on that metal plate, which wires over to there. Guess it's a regulator or switch or something. 2SA1061. Yeah, so the camera cable's got two shielded wires, which would be the audio and video, and then it's got that 4 other wires. One's quite thick and red, so that's probably the power. There isn't sort of an independent ground looking thing, but there's 3 other wires, which would one of those be the video return, so you can see the VCR output in there, maybe? And it's got the record start stop, and possibly the standby on thing, something like that. Okay, and that board's all the power supply, high voltage power supply, possibly the audio. No, that would just be linking the audio from the other board. Where did the camera... Oh no, that would be linking the video from the other board there. The audio from the microphone will be coming in here and then being picked up by that and sent to the other side. Oh yeah, and then it's combined where it joins there into the board, and then right next to it is a connector from the external microphone connector, which is 2 wires and a shield, so it will be the send that gets switched and then returned back. If that makes any sense. So probably the audio amp, preamp for the mic, with maybe that op amp looking thing there, and various power supply bits and pieces, and leaky capacitors making a mess. Hard to see here, but there's some discoloration around that one, visible around that one. Maybe others. We need a bit of work to get that back into service. Alright, final bit. Can we get into this easily? I'm wondering, would we have to take all the lens off? I think that's a container and then there's a lid on it. Let's see. It's all smaller. Screwdriver sizes 0. Is it mildew? It's a bit crusty looking on there. So we can see now the color filter warm up the picture when you're outside, and the frost filter for when you're setting white balance, and then there's that little switch.
that would have activated when you're doing the white balance. Now interesting, that has sort of black thread lock, blue, purpley coloured, and natural. I wonder if that's, well, I don't know, is that different like stages of checking? Yeah, these are pretty long screws. Oh, that's a short screw, okay. Maybe that will be short as well. Yes, these two go a fair distance. Aluminum plate. Ah, so they went a fair distance. You see, that was holding this back plate thing on. So if we take these two screws off up here, you can probably remove that whole back plate thing. Oh, well, that opens up this thing. And probably that. Look, there's another. That to do with cord clamping. Then there's another little screw there. I think now we can take that back plate off. Oh, look at that. That was an adjustment that's now been adjusted. I guess that's the back focus adjustment, because yeah, for setting like the back focus. Now we've got the iris there. The iris, and that there will be the motor for the zoom. Wonder if we can get down another layer. And I wonder what this stuff is on that board there. Guess that's the thing that does the motor reversing for the zoom. Oh yeah, look at that. Nice iris. 5 blade, so you know it's awesome. And then yeah, you can see the white gear there that joins from that motor, which will have a gear reduction built into it, onto the zoom ring, which have a little clutchy thing on it. Get it out of your evil clutches. There you go, look at that. Geared motor there. And there's the lens. And yeah, there's a sort of round spring thing that puts up some resistance so that you can manually turn. Wow, that's really smooth. Got a star in it. In the center, look at that. A star in the center. That is presumably for when you're in really bright conditions, so that this will open just a tiny bit, and then the light has to go through that middle bit, which is probably like a few stop ND. But because of the positioning of that in the lens, it won't be visible in the image. Like the size of that will just blur out the effect of that. I assume. Yeah, you can see the deterioration of the lens surface there. Might clean up a bit. I don't have any cleaning things nearby to test that. But there you go. And this will just all just go back together all nicely. Yeah, that's not the screw for that. Oh, it's because that thing probably missed something somewhere.
Alright, I'm not going to bore you with putting all that whole thing back together. You can just see there that it can be done. It's an insulating sleeve. It doesn't want to go around it, does it? And that little thing in there. No, that's not the right screw either, is it? I think it's supposed to be one of these little tiny countersink ones, because it's got to be flat there. Oh yeah. And then this little saddle clamp kind of doofy goes in there. That'll be what these non-countersink ones are for, probably. You sort of put it back together based on where the bits are, because everything got pushed over that way. This thing, she had all that coloured business going on in there. Okay, and that just screwed onto this. Alright, good stuff. I'll bore you with the rest of that. So, here's our little look inside this wonderful video camera. The National Color Video Camera, WV-3030N. Hopefully that was interesting. And stick around because we've got plenty more video cameras to have a look at. And also VCRs. So stay tuned for that and see you next time.